Today, we become legends.
So a recent Reddit post was brought to my attention by someone called Andrew Henry on my community post, so thank you for the suggestion for this. And the post is by Blazerhawk, so full credit to him for all this because he's got a lot of data here and really kind of backs up his arguments very, very well. And it sort of confirms something that I've been thinking for a while, and like this current meta just really emphasizes it, and that's that assassins absolutely suck and probably something needs to change. If there's a little bit of a low energy vibe in this video, I apologize for that. I'm recording this at like 3 or 4 a.m. I'm trying to not be too noisy because I have neighbors and things like that. But to be honest, this isn't really a video topic that requires a ton of like high energy screaming, Fortnite, Ninja, LEA stuff. So we'll just get straight into the post. I've given this a little skim read just to make sure it was something that was worthy of making a video about, and I definitely think it is. But I've not read through like everything, not looked at all the data. I've just got like basic first impressions. So this is going to be sort of my raw take on it. So yeah, let's talk about Assassins by Blazerhawk. Recently, a comment on r/Smite Pro was lamenting about how warriors such as Gilgamesh, Osiris, and Erlang Shen have been taking over the jungle role. No surprise there. I recently released a top 3 gods for every role video, and I couldn't not put 3 warriors. I said in the video I want to include some assassins, so I'll honourable mention Fenrir and Serket because they're decent right now. But it had to be 3 warriors. Gilgamesh, Erlang Shen, and Osiris, the same 3 he lists here. I personally don't play a lot of Conquest, but the SPL games I've seen certainly treading that direction. But the thing is, it's not like assassins are being picked up anywhere else. This is also true. You're not seeing like big surges in assassin mids or solos or anything like that. So that got me questioning assassins' viability in general. With the help of casualsmite.com, I decided to look into how viable assassins really are, and assassins are losing a lot. So yeah, let's get into some of the data that he has here, because it's very interesting and very well compiled, well formatted, and things like that. So the first thing I did is look at the class as a whole, grouping the characters into 4 groups: extreme winners, winners, losers, and extreme losers. This is basically very high win rate, decently high win rate, low win rate, very low win rate. And he's done this across basically every game mode, I believe. Joust rank, Conquest rank, duel. Yeah, so every single game mode. The first thing I noticed here is that no mode exists where more than 7 assassins are winning more than they're losing. So yeah, that would be in Siege. Assassin's pretty strong in Siege, apparently. Assault is almost hilariously bad for assassins, with only 1, Tsukuyomi, having more wins than losses. I mean, yeah, Assault is bad for assassins. That's not really a relevant point, in my opinion. Assault has always been bad for assassins and always will be bad. Assassins don't fit in Assault. You know, to be successful in Assault, you either need to be a tank or you need to be ranged. Assassins are neither of those things. Yes, you can build them bruiser, and I bet if people built them bruiser, they would be more successful than if you built them full damage, but a lot of assassins don't have sustain, or it's unreliable sustain. They're not tanky unless you build them tanky, and they usually don't have very good range. And obviously, the one assassin that has a higher than 50% win rate is Tsukuyomi, which kind of confirms this. You know, Tsukuyomi is the ranged assassin who can actually poke in Assault. While 16 were in the extreme losers category, which, as he said up here, is less than a 45% win rate, which may sound like not that big of a deal. You know, oh, he's only like, 5% away from being balanced. Nah, but below 45 is a pretty bad win rate. In fact, outside of Conquest and Ranked modes, no assassin was in the extreme winners category, which is more than 55%. As for those extreme winners, it's Arachne and Kali in both regular and Ranked Conquest, no surprise there. Thor with an absolutely absurd 85.74% win rate, and Serket in Ranked Joust as well, and Kali, Set, and Tsukuyomi in Duel. So yeah, Arachne and Kali, no surprise there. Kali is just stupid. Honestly, she can like solo carry games. Arachne, we all know she has a very high win rate in Conquest, even though most people consider her a bad character. The Thor win rate in Ranked Joust is insane, 85%. I mean, Thor is good in Joust, like very good. The new Joust map also complements him very well. He can basically ult to anywhere from anywhere, and the sort of like structures in the middle of the map kind of block you being able to see his ult and things like that. So Thor very good in Joust, but 85 is ridiculous. Obviously, Ranked Joust isn't exactly a hugely popular queue, so they're not going to be a ton of data there. But still, 85% win rate is absolutely ridiculous. So he says, that prompted some further researching into how assassins perform compared to others. So first I decided to look at how many showed up at the extreme performances for each mode. That looks something like this. So yeah, we're looking at 2 maximum in the top 10, and 7 maximum in the bottom 10. 2 minimum. So obviously in this case, 2 is average, because there's 5 classes. 2 of the top 10 being from one class is going to be average. You know, you would have 2 of each class, ideally. But obviously this is heavily skewed. You know, assassins, I guess, are performing decently in Conquest, because 2, pretty average. But in every other mode, especially Siege, Joust, Arena, and Duel, performing incredibly badly. Once again, Duel is not an amazing data point. I would disregard Duel for the most part, because Duel isn't meant to be somewhere where all gods succeed. If you looked at the Guardian win rates for Duel, you would probably also see 0 in the top 10. So like Duel and Assault they have incredibly different rules compared to other modes, and I'm not surprised that they have 0 top winning gods here. And then obviously in the bottom win rate, 2 is where it should be, so in Ranked Conquest is the only place where assassins are performing as they should be in terms of top 10 and bottom 10 win rate gods. Every other game mode, they're way underperforming. I was going to say way overperforming, but they're not. They're way underperforming. And Assault obviously being the worst. Siege is interesting, because further up here, didn't they say Siege they were doing quite well? Yeah, a lot of winners in Siege. So I guess in Siege it's like very polarized. There's quite a lot of winners, but there's also quite a lot of losers. So he says, this is really disturbing. Only the aforementioned Thor in Ranked Joust, Bastet in Clash, and Kali and Arachne in Ranked and Casual Conquest were able to crack the top 10 win rates for their respective modes. Meanwhile, every mode has at least 2 assassins in the bottom 10 win rates for their modes. Some of these are truly awful, such as Nemesis in Ranked Joust, sporting a 6.68% win rate. Jesus. Once again, Ranked Joust is going to be a smaller population, so you have less data to work with, but no win rate should be at 6%. That is absolutely ridiculous. That's almost 1 in 20, as in like 19 out of 20 Nemesis lose the game. Jesus, that is so bad. In fact, the win rates were so bad in some modes, I decided to look at the play rates for each mode. For Ranked, I decided to go with pick ban rate just to include the times that people decided that playing against the character just wasn't worth it. Yeah, you should always include pick ban rate, because if you don't include ban rate, characters like Yamoja and things like that would have incredibly low pick rates, and you'd think people thought they were garbage, but obviously they get banned all the time. So matches pick ban top 10 and pick ban bottom 10. Jesus, Joust Ranked, almost, and Joust Regular and Assault, they're almost never picked. 9 out of 10 of the bottom picked gods in those modes are assassins. And yeah, this kind of shows how the data can be a bit misleading as well with Duel. Only 1 in the bottom 10 of Duel, you might think they're doing okay, but that's because I reckon like the other 9 of these are probably Guardians, because it's Duel, you can't really rely on Duel data. But yeah, once again, it just shows a similar trend in that they're really not being picked. So not only are they not strong, people aren't having fun playing them as well, which is a very important aspect. A god has to also be pretty balanced, but they also have to be fun and wanting to be played, otherwise you got a real problem there. And obviously, one impacts the other. If they're less powerful, people are going to play them less. This is even more disturbing. In only Duel and Ranked Conquest are less than 5 of the 10 least played gods assassins, which is obviously overrepresented. Once again, Conquest Ranked here is a good baseline example. It should be 2, because 5 classes. Assault was interesting, as in theory that mode should have roughly equal matches, being random pick. Instead, the most played assassin, Thanatos, ranks number 69 on the list out of 120 or something now. So at the very least, it seems that the player base is aware of Assassin's tendency to lose. Yeah, this is important. Player base is aware of their tendency to lose. People, they obviously haven't been presented this data like this or have watched this video, but, you have it in the back of your mind like, I seem to play this god and I always seem to lose. Maybe I'm not going to play this god anymore. So that's where you start to get a real big problem. And obviously in Assault, that's people re-rolling the gods, Obviously, Assassins have the same odds to come up, I assume, unless maybe Hi-Res have seen that the Assault numbers are this bad and they turn down the tendency for Assassins, because obviously Assassins aren't really built for Assault. Maybe that's the case. But I imagine it's just people re-rolling when they get Assassins to try and get, Hunters or Mages or Warriors or whatever. Assassins are performing worse than any other class. Now that my suspicions about Assassins doing a lot worse were confirmed, yeah, I had these suspicions also. It really felt like Assassins weren't doing well. I wanted to see how they stacked up against these other classes. To do this, I calculated the median win rate for every class, and the median is the exact middle of the win rates. People confuse this sometimes with averages. It's not the mean where they're all added up and divided together to get an average. It's the middle of the win rates is median. In every case but mages, this is an average of the 2 middle gods in win rates. Anyways, here's that data. So yeah, you'll basically hope for the median win rate to be around 50%. So all normal. Duel's median win rates are very low. I guess that's because in Duel, you have a lot of people that win all the time and a lot of people that lose a lot, and they kind of feed wins off of those people. That's probably why the Duel numbers are lower than the average on every other game mode, because you look at every other game mode and every other class, they're all around 50, deviation of about 4% maximum. But then you can see here that Assassins are just, a solid 2 to 3% lower than every other class. If you compare it to Guardians, I guess, have the highest win rates, at least compared to these median numbers. And once again, Assault and Duel are obviously the lowest win rates, but you gotta take that with a grain of salt. What we can see here is that the Assassins are significantly underperforming compared to every other class. Not only do Assassins not have a single mode with a positive median win rate, they are the lowest median win rate in every mode except Duel, because obviously Guardians are going to have that lowest win rate, not everyone's Hatmaster. Usually these differences are large too, with the lowest gap being 0.94% in Ranked Joust. Yeah, like I said, 2 to 4% is the general rule, but if you compare Assassins to Guardians, it's more like 4 to 6% to be honest. As a class, assassins are the worst performing group in Smite. The highest median win rate is worse than every other class's worst casual mode median win rate. Yeah, he has to specify classic casual mode here because there's stuff like duel and things like that. But yeah, what he's basically saying is you take any of like, for example, I think, yeah, mages are the second lowest. So you take any mage win rate aside from like duel and things like that is going to be lower than every assassin win rate down here. The only mode where they outperform any class is duel, where they outperform guardians and warriors, but duel also has the lowest win rates at every class, so I presume this to be due to be rather narrow meta. At the moment, does not favor guardians and warriors. I mean, it never does really. Some assassins are really good in duel, but most aren't that good. You know, you have stuff like Bakasura, Arachne kind of standouts, but for the most part, they're generally not that good in duel. Like, duel is dominated by, like, you know, burst mages and hunters and stuff like that. But once again, I don't think making a point about duel is really helping, to be honest. It's not supposed to be a game mode where every class is viable. Same thing with Assault. They're kind of built different, those kind of game modes. You really want to be looking at, you know, normal modes that play out similarly, you know, like Conquest, Joust, Clash, Siege Arena, all that kind of stuff. Assassins are in a bad spot. So yeah, he says, from these charts we can see a couple of things. First is that the left side is pretty empty. We've already discussed this at length, but it appears even more pronounced here. Second, we can see that the bottom half of the chart is pretty densely populated. In particular, the low win rate, low popularity quadrant, which is the bottom right, is the most filled one on both charts. On both charts we can see clustering of low win rates, but also low popularity, which is like what we mentioned earlier, where people are kind of in the back of their mind catching on to the fact that they pick assassins and they don't win, which is obviously gonna make them pick assassins less. We also see that only a couple of assassins do well in a given mode, so you know, you have like the Kalis and Arachnes in Conquest, you have the Tsukuyomis in Assault, the only one doing well there. Most do mediocre or poor, and generally there is a tendency for the god to have a better win rate than popularity, meaning that the perception of assassins as weak is likely holding them back even though— oh, that's interesting. So the win rate is slightly better than the popularity, so it's not only the win rate that's affecting it there, clearly, you know, they're less popular than their win rate should suggest, I guess. So just in general, people aren't having fun with them. Not only the fact that they're losing, because that definitely impacts it, but they're also just not having fun with them in general. In conclusion, I think assassins need a hard look. It seems clear to me that they are unable to do their intended job, as they don't have a single mode where they have a performance above 50% characters with a positive win rate. In fact, they on average perform the worst of any class in the game. They are unpopular and unsuccessful. Something needs to change. So yeah, really interesting data here. One thing I want to know is, has this been going on for a long time, or is this more recent? Because if this is like a systemic problem that's been going on for years, that is going to be a lot harder to fix and probably less likely to get fixed. Because high-res have access to the same data this guy has access to and more. They're going to know if this is a kind of a problem, because like they look at character win rates and pick rates for balancing reasons and things like that, and probably for like reworking reasons, stuff like that. Like they will have categorized it by classes at some point and realized assassins are doing terribly. I'd be very surprised if they didn't do that, and they're bad at their jobs if they didn't. So I imagine they've done that. And they've realized this is a problem. So whether this is, you know, a more recent thing that's occurred, you know, sort of in Season 8 or in the last couple of months, you know, since Gilgamesh released, maybe, I'm not entirely sure. But my guess is maybe it's a more systemic problem, considering especially that it's across all modes. So it's not like, you know, the Season 8 Conquest map really doesn't favor assassins, so they're not performing well on it, stuff like that. It's across all modes. And yeah, if it's a more recent problem that's cropped up recently, we can hope for maybe some more change coming out of high-res, because if it's, you know, only been going for a couple of months, they might be working on a fix for it already. But if this has been going for 4 or 5 years longer, it's likely a fix isn't coming, to be completely honest with you. I don't think a 500 votes Reddit post is going to change their mind on that if they haven't gone to fix it already, because like I said, they have access to the same data this guy's using and more. In terms of fixing it, it's difficult, to be honest. I mean, I'm not a game designer. I don't get paid to fix these kind of problems, but so I'm sure high-res have better ideas than I do. Because you can't just like increase their damage. One, because that would be horrible for community perception. You know, if you make a buff patch where it's buffing 10 assassins damage, everyone's going to cry about it, even if subconsciously they know they're not doing well with assassins and people don't do well with assassins. If they just release a patch buffing everyone's damage by 50, you know, then that's not going to go over well. Even if they explained it perfectly, you know, kind of like this guy's explained it, people are still going to cry about that. And so I don't think just buffing their damage numbers is a solution. For some assassins it could be, you know, there is a fair few assassins that I think don't really deal enough damage, and they could probably deal more and it would be totally fine. But I think across the entire class, just buffing all their damage like as a blanket buff, probably not a good idea. Like, you could buff their mobility, but like they're already kind of high mobility, a lot of them. Once again, you could buff the mobility of some, but not all of them as like a blanket change. To be honest, I've always been a proponent for adding like a fighter class. Doesn't have to be called fighters, but something in between an assassin and a warrior. Granted, it adds like another physical class, which could potentially be a problem, but Like, basically, you could put, like, Gilgamesh and Erlang Shen, stuff like that, very aggressive, high-damage warriors into the fighter class, and you can move some of the more sort of tanky-leaning assassins like Thor, put them all into the fighter class. And then you could sort of more fine-tune assassins and really bring out their strengths in, like, their big burst damage, their mobility, you know, whatever it is. And you could maybe fix this problem a little easier. It's not a solution to the problem at all, but it could make the problem easier to find a solution for. And so I really think adding a fighter class could really bring out the identity of warriors and assassins a lot more, rather than having like some of these kind of almost hybrid assassin and warrior characters, especially like Erlang Shen and Gilgamesh and stuff like that. They could definitely be fighters. I think they would work a lot better, and a fighter really describes them better than a warrior, to be honest. But yeah, if you guys have any solutions for this or like ideas on how to fix it, definitely leave comments down below. I'll try and heart any that I think are good suggestions, because this is a really difficult problem to solve, especially if it's more systemic, as I said, that's been going on for years. Because if it has been going on for years, either hirers are incredibly incompetent and they haven't realized it, or they don't have a solution for it because they would have made one. This is a really stark problem that I'm sure they've noticed. And so if they haven't brought a solution out and it's been like this for years, that's a big, big problem, and we need to bring their attention to it. But yeah, that's enough from me. I won't go on like an entire half hour ranting about a Reddit post. I'm sure you guys got places to be. I'll keep it brief. So I'll catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.